Good morning, guys. It is Friday, April 26, 2024. This is Bathrobe Business. I'm Georgi Oganov. I got the coffee and I got the news. There's a few stories in the market. Honestly, I feel the most important one is inflation, so I'm just going to get to it. So PCE rose 2.8% versus the estimated 2.7 excluding food and energy. Including food and energy, PCE went up to 2.7 compared to a 2.6% estimate. Why this is important? This isn't a major shift, but it actually is because we've seen increases in super core inflation. We've seen increases in CPI, but this is the first time in a few months that we've seen, actually in quite a bit, that we've seen PCE come in at overestimates. Why this is important is because PCE is the Fed's favorite inflation number. So now we're finally seeing it reflected in all the numbers that we look at, that inflation is on the rise. It's not exactly a surprise, but this one is more impactful than every other, simply because the Fed pays so much more attention to this one than all the others. That's all you can really draw from this, other than the fact that understanding that the Fed is not going to be cutting interest rates. In a normal logical scenario, the Fed should be increasing interest rates in order to cope with this inflation. They probably aren't because they can't keep pushing inflation rates higher because our system has become very unstable. I think this shows how fragile our system has become when the Fed should be raising interest rates and they can't, because last time they did, there were bank collapses. And I don't think it's a coincidence that after that, the Fed stopped raising interest rates and said, oh yeah, this is good enough to control it. We'll see what comes in the coming months. Obviously, there's other moves the Fed can make, other quantitative easing, quantitative tightening that they can do. But on the front end, interest rates are the most powerful tool, and they should be going up. Other stuff to report. Microsoft and Google are just topping estimates, had record quarters because of AI. This isn't a surprise. This is the second and third quarter in a row. Microsoft had $61.9 billion versus estimated of $60.88 billion. Google had $67.59 billion versus the expected $66.07 billion. So all these companies are paying off with AI. Tesla, on the other hand, as we know, has had a bad quarter. And even now, former Senior Vice President Drew Baglino is selling $181 million worth of Tesla stocks. Why this is important is because he's essentially liquidating all of his Tesla shares. He's completely selling them into the market, taking the money and running. On its face, that may not be like a big deal. People will buy and sell stocks for their own individual reasons. But given all the history we've seen with Tesla in the last few months, I think it's a sign that Tesla's best days, or I should say maybe easiest days, are behind it. I think for a long time, Tesla could just rest on its laurels, move off of inertia, but those days are kind of behind it, especially now with the EV market more or less crashing. This isn't like the end of Tesla. I mean, I know a lot of people will be like, oh, Tesla's not going to be able to succeed anymore. Tesla's not going to be able to have growth. I think they will. It's just now Tesla really needs to start innovating and not just doing publicity stunts. I don't see the Cybertruck as a legitimate car. I see that entirely as a publicity stunt. And I think that the fact that it's not being invested heavily on Tesla's side shows that fact as well. It took them 5 years to develop it. It's hitting the road in a limited quantity. The people that are buying it are mostly people that are interested in tech or influencers or celebrities. It's not a viable product for the greater market. And now Tesla really needs to start innovating and looking at what are we going to do in order to win consumers over, especially in an environment where we're not the only EV. EV sales are down, and we have to come up with something that the customer actually wants to buy. We'll see if that happens. I think it will. I don't overestimate Elon Musk, but I don't underestimate him either. He hasn't gotten to where he is without knowing how to manipulate the markets. I think he's probably going to bring in some outside blood in order to reinvigorate the brand. Some new designs, some new features, maybe new... cost cutting is going to be a factor, but I would say maybe even reducing the price for autonomous driving. So there's going to be innovations that he makes with that. That's pretty much it. Overall, I find that today's news stories don't really seem to stimulate much information or anything of value outside of those. One major one, I guess I should say, is the FDA has approved the first gene therapy in the United States. So Pfizer has gained the first gene editing license in the United States history. It's gene therapy for essentially hemophilia. It's going to cost 3.5 million, but this is a major step because gene therapy has never been formally introduced into the market, and it's a major step. It's very dangerous therapy, but with this being a dangerous disease, I think that's why they were granted this FDA status. ExxonMobil stock falls. They actually had good earnings, but they're being squeezed on the margins because of the price of natural gas and oil. And that's pretty much it. We know about the TikTok ban. I'm not going to talk more about that. There was one more story I'll mention that I think is a bad thing if it happens. I don't think it's true, and I don't think even if it is true, it would happen. So there's a story out there that Donald Trump wants to revamp the Federal Reserve, wants the ability to be able to hire and fire the Fed chair at will, manipulate interest rates. I don't think that's going to happen, but just keep your eye out open for that. I thought that was an interesting story. Obviously, that's bad for multiple reasons, but it's just out there. So I thought I'd mention it. Like I said, pretty slow day. I was almost like maybe I shouldn't do a video today because I just didn't think there was anything of value besides the interest rates and inflation rates. I'll see you guys on Monday. I hope you have a productive day and a great weekend.